Hello grade 9s, my name is Natasha Barton and I would like to welcome you to the very first video in the series of videos on exponents and their laws. In other words, the rules that guide what you should do when exponents are present in problems. In this video, we will be taking a look at exponent law number 1, which tells us what we need to do with exponents when we are multiplying powers. Now, before I explain the first law, and before we simplify the problem that you can see displayed to your screen, I would like us to look at x to the power of n, and remind you of some of the terms that I will constantly use in this section. We have in this term x, we refer to x as the base. A base can be a variable, or it can be a number. So learners often get confused when the base is a number, but you will know that it is a base because it is beneath the exponent. In this case, n is the exponent on x, but again, that variable n can be replaced with any other number or letter. When we look at x to the power of n, we call this a power. Now that you know this, let's go to law 1. Law 1 is used when we are multiplying terms, and in this case we have x to the power of m multiplied by x to the power of n. When the bases are exactly the same, in other words, if we have x and x as bases, then law number 1 says that we should add the exponents. Now, if you look at the problem that we have, a to the power of 4 multiplied by a to the power of 3, you will notice that the base here is exactly the same. The terms are not the same, because to have like terms, we need the same base to the same exponent. But law number 1 is independent of whether or not the terms are the same. We are looking to see if the bases are the same, and in this case, both of the bases are a. Now that we know that the bases are the same, we write down a and we look at the exponents. Law 1 says that when the bases are the same and we are multiplying, we can add the exponents. So we simply say 4 plus 3, and this gives us our final answer, which is a to the power of 7. The next problem reads, simplify x to the power of 2 multiplied by y to the power of 2 multiplied by x to the power of 5 times y. And what are we doing here, grade 9? We are multiplying, or timesing if you'd like to use that word. And that means that we need to use law number 1. So law number 1 says that when we are multiplying, we add the exponents of like bases. So let's start off by looking for terms that have a base that is exactly the same. We have x to the power of 2 and x to the power of 5. These terms have exactly the same base, which is x. We also have y to the power of 2 and y to the power of 1. Here the base is y. So we start off with x and we add the exponent 2 plus 5. We then move on to y and we add 2 plus 1. If we simplify this, we end up with x to the power of 7 multiplied by y to the power of 3. And you will notice here that I did not write down the multiplication sign. And the reason for this is because whenever you have something like a times b in algebra, the simplest way of writing it down is ab. And that means that this is the final answer, x to the power of 7 multiplied by y to the power of 3. Only 2 problems left in this video, grade 9s, with this problem reading, simplify 3 to the power of 3 multiplied by a multiplied by b squared times 3 to the power of 2 times a to the power of 4 times 3 times b to the power of 3. And it clearly says here, leave your answer in exponential form. Grade 9s, this means that you do not need to use your calculator at all. You simply need to use your exponential or exponent rules to simplify this expression as far as possible. So we start off by realizing that we are multiplying, and of course, when we multiply, we use law number 1. We start off by looking for terms that have the same base. Here we have some of the terms with a base of 3. There are those with a base of a and those with a base of b. We can now start to add the exponents of the terms that have the same base, starting with 3. I see an exponent of 3, 2, and 1, so we add 3 plus 2 plus 1. We then move on to A, with its exponents being 1 and 4, so we say 1 plus 4. And lastly, B has the exponent 2 and 3, so we say 2 plus 3. We can simplify this so that the final answer is 3 to the power of 6 times A to the power of 5 times B to the power of 5. And ladies and gentlemen, this is in fact the final answer. And the reason why it is the final answer is because we do not need to find out what 3 to the power of 6 is, because the instruction reads, leave your answer in exponential form. We are now on the last problem contained in this video, which says simplify 3n to the power of 2 multiplied by 2n to the power of 6. Now, before we simplify this expression, let's take a closer look at 3n to the power of 2. By now, you should all know that n is called the base, and we know that it is called the base because it is underneath the exponent, which is 2. Now, grade 9s, what is the name that we give to the 3 that is in front of the n? The 3 that is in front of the power, the number in front of the power. That number is called the coefficient. And what is beautiful about coefficients is that they use integer rules. They follow normal, ordinary integer rules. And what I mean by that is, if we were adding, we would add the coefficients of like terms. If we were subtracting, we would subtract the coefficients of like terms. If we were dividing, we would divide coefficients. And in this problem, since we are multiplying, we know that we will multiply the coefficients. That is coefficients. That is the beauty of coefficients. You simply follow the normal rules, if we can call it that, that you have been following all along. The rest of the term will follow exponent rules because that is the power. Now back to the question. In this problem, we are multiplying and we identify the coefficients as 3 and 2. We now know that we will simply multiply the coefficients and say 3 times 2. We have the same base, which is n, and of course, law number 1 says that when the bases are the same, we need to add the exponents. So we say n to the power of 2 plus 6. If we simplify this, we end up with 6n to the power of 8, and this is the answer to this problem. Grade 9s, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you've enjoyed it. In the next video, we will take a look at law number 2, which tells us what we should do to our exponents when we are dividing.